Hey everyone, Bama, Jenny, Mom. Seen Tony in here a while ago. I think I got everybody. How y'all doing? So I got my sister in here with me tonight. We're going to do some chatting about haunted places in North Carolina and also what equipment people used to use way back in the day before technology was really good. So let me see if I can pop in on the chat on the thing and be a little quicker. StreamYard is always slow, as I say. Uh, okay. Let me unplug. Okay. Okay, yeah, I'm caught up on everybody, I think, now. Just let me know you're here by commenting, and then I'll know who I'm speaking with tonight. So I hope everyone's had a good first start of the week. Did get a video up on Monday night. Thank you, Jenny. Yeah, please like and share out, please, by the way. Notifications are starting to hit. Mine hit just a moment ago. Making sure I didn't miss anyone. I think I got everybody. So to all those, Michael, Robert, Jane, Thomas, Ryan, everybody, Bama has said hi to all of you tonight. So they're in here. We're not going to do an investigation with them, but they can do whatever they want. It seems like that's what they like to do. Okay, we're going to get started in just a moment. I'm going to try to do some filming on Friday. I'll let you know how that comes about. May do a video on TikTok to do one maybe. Okay. Yeah, that's right, Bama. Okay, so we're gonna get started. Some haunted places here in Asheville that we've talked about before has been like Helens Bridge and stuff like that. That's one place that I visited quite a bit. But there's others, and one of them is a haunted picnic area. I've talked about that a little bit in the past. How seems like bodies have been dropped there. Could be an Indian burial ground as well. Very haunted. We've gotten some stuff from the REM pod that happened the last time we were there. We were there with Melanie and Michael and all of our friends from Shivering Shimmy, and we've got quite a bit of stuff. Indian burial ground, like I said, bodies possibly left for dead. I mean, just killed and left there. Just a ton of activity in that place. But it's some place you don't want to go by yourself. That's for sure. Okay, so what kind of paranormal equipment did they used to use back in the day, sis? She's going to tell you about that.
Well, I wanted to see, because we have the luxury of technology, and just about anybody today can pick up a phone and take a picture of something or make a video or anything like that. So if anybody knows me, they know I love anything history. What came before, pictures of buildings. It was this before this. So I got to thinking about what could you use, or what did they use before we had technology. Well, I was doing some research online, but I come across Thomas Edison was actually really interested in communicating with spirits. And he thought, if we could just, tinker with radios and things of electricity, we might be able to communicate with them, but he never got around to it. But probably one of the most I guess you wouldn't say primitive, but the basic things that you would use would be like the raps and the bells, like, knock on the wall if you want to communicate with me, or if you're here. A lot of seances during the 18th century, they used bells and the raps against the walls or the tables and things like that. Of course, during the age of spiritualism in the 18th century, they had mediums everywhere. There's famous, not so famous. There was the Fox sisters. And then, of course, there were people just like today that, are skeptics. Houdini was a skeptic. He tried for many years to debunk a lot of stuff. Some things he was successful, some things not. But they would have these seances. They would, all these people would get together and, just black out everything in the room and try to communicate. Or they would use bells, the raps, and knocks, and, candles, if the candles would blow out, things like that. But as it got, a little bit more popular, the dowsing rods, a lot of people still use dowsing rods. And, some there's skeptics about it. I've never tried them personally. Have you ever tried dowsing rods?
No, never give that a shot.
But I mean, they used to be used to, to find water, sources of water and minerals and things like that. But a lot of people, since the belief is that spirits have this connection to nature, that you could find the spirits with the dowsing rods as well. So that became popular. It used to be used with sticks, especially with the water, because they, plants automatically go towards the sun. So they thought, well, a branch or a plant's going to automatically go to water. So that's how they would use the dowsing rods. But then, the cameras came in to play a little bit around the 19th century. You have, a lot of the upper class would get the cameras. It was very popular to try to take pictures with their deceased relatives if they thought they were there. Of course, there was a lot of photo manipulation. Even they had Photoshop back then. Lord knows how they did it. But they could do it. Double exposure. There were a lot of places that could do the double exposure. And, of course, kind of morbid. If, you had a family member that was deceased, especially children, they would still, set them up like they were still alive and take pictures of them, because that would be the only thing that they would have. And then there's a lot of old photos where there's believed to be spirits in the photos. But one thing I thought was really cool is they used to use compasses. The ones that they said, the ones that are on your phone, that are on the smartphones now, don't exactly work. But they would use compasses because it was the early EMF detector. So you have, the electromagnetic waves in nature. And if it, the needle started going a little wonky and, or it'd turn around or stuff like that, it would indicate that there was a spirit near you. So I thought that would be pretty cool to maybe try to get a compass and see if that would work. Set a compass next to an EMF detector and see if it would, if the EMF goes off, to see if it would go off at the same time.
It could. I don't think the EMF, I don't know if the EMF would mess with the compass or vice versa, and then you got to kind of like make sure that that it doesn't move around all the time. And it could be a spot where it's just like there's activity that's not paranormal there. But yeah, that's a good idea to try something like that.
Yeah, we could probably put them next to each other, see if they mess with each other, because it is magnetic. So maybe if we could get something, maybe get them close to each other where they won't mess with each other, or get some kind of barrier between them, and to see if it would work.
Well, you can take two EMF detectors side by side or front, put them front faced, and they will set each other off.
Yeah, they'll go nuts.
When you see people doing like side by side EMFs, I discourage it.
Yeah, or even with your phone too.
Yeah,
put it right next to the phone, because it can mess with that. Anything, a power box or anything like that.
Yeah, anything with power.
Because that's how they used to use that's where it came from, the voltmeters and stuff like that. But then you have the radios, which people still they use the ghost boxes and the radios and stuff now, the radio waves and things like that. But that was the main tools. Of course, they had the mediums. That was their go-to.
Yeah.
was the mediums,
Mm-hmm.
which that's still true today. I mean, there's plenty of mediums around. But I thought the compass I think that's my favorite.
Yeah. Well, um, and then sometimes the mediums are not always truthful.
Mm-hmm.
Hey, Amy and Jan, how y'all?
Hi.
Um, but yeah, you got to know the mediums well enough to know they're not going to fool you.
Oh yeah.
But that was used quite a bit back in the day. Yeah.
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah. So that was uh, some kind of another way of just. I mean, that's back in the Bible time. When you go back in the Old Testament, you see where pharaohs and stuff would use sorcerers and.
Oh yeah, they had the
you know,
shamans. And,
yeah.
Yeah.
So back in that, I mean, that's been a long time that they've been using mediums and stuff.
Oh yeah, I came across a newspaper article where they were talking about how even in ancient times they had a respect and a interest in the afterlife, or a parallel universe or anything like that. Of Egyptians especially had a profound fascination with it, and they had many gods for different. You had Anubis, which is he leads the dead into the other underworld after deeming if they're worthy or not. But it's gone on for years and years.
And sometimes you can go back. Sometimes you have to go back to go forward. So if you can take something like a compass, dowsing rods, and things like that, you might be able to use them for your investigations. And in some cases, a lot of that stuff, like you might be able to get dowsing rods or compasses for almost nearly nothing.
Oh yeah, I've always looked into. I love I love an industrial style stuff, Victorian style. So I've always looked into stuff like that. I love to decorate with that. But sometimes you can even find them in thrift stores.
Yeah.
Too.
Hey, G. Paul, how are you? So that was just some of the things that she had come across that was used back in the day. But I want to talk about some more places here in North Carolina. We're going to hit back and forth. Yeah, that's Sissy. Yeah, she's
Hi,
up here.
Amy.
There's a place in Jamestown, North Carolina, which is out east of us, called Lida's Bridge. You know how I am with bridges. You get me and Amy together, we'll go find bridges that are haunted. So wherever there's a bridge, me and Amy will be there and investigating. So this is called Lida's Bridge. People traveling between Jamestown and Greensboro, U.S. Highway 70, said they've encountered the ghost of Lida, a hitchhiker. If she was picked up, she gets into your car and vanishes before you reach your destination that she has requested. Various versions of Lida legends have been passed along over the years, and there have apparently 11 different versions of the story. They're all set in North Carolina. It's common for folks to go ghost hunting for Lida near the bridge. In the book Looking for Lida, historian Michael Ringer, or I think that's how you say it, and Amy Greer cited the 1923 death of Annie C. Johnson as a real-life Lida, who died when her car flipped in 1920. So, yeah, bridges. Let's go. That's what I'm saying.
I love bridges.
Bridges are the place to go. There's one in Elizabeth, Tennessee that's like that. That's haunted. That people used to go across a bridge there, and they would look in their back seat, somebody be in the back seat, and then after you got across the bridge, it vanished.
There's one near Charleston like that too. There's a really old bridge in Charleston, and a section of the bridge went out. And a couple, I think it's an elderly couple, went off in their car in the bridge and died. They said people can see the car go, and looks like it goes off the bridge. Wow. The bridge is intact again, but it looks like it goes straight off the bridge, and people crash and stop all of a sudden.
Wow.
I'm pretty sure it's in Charleston.
Probably so.
Naturally.
Back to my channel. Oh, that's good, Jan. You were reading a story earlier about a rock that bleeds.
Yeah, it's in Franklin, and of course there's different theories on why it bleeds. There's the skeptics says, well, it's just natural, but there's of course stories passed down from time to time and they said that it was a young gentleman who was courting a young lady, as they often did, and he had taken a rest on against this rock. Well, there was another gentleman who was also interested in the young lady, and he was jealous that apparently maybe she was giving the other guy the attention. So he snuck up on the guy while he was sleeping against the rock and killed him. And they said since then this rock just bleeds red. So they said the locals around there will tell you do not go up there at night. I don't know if you can still get up there. This was an article in 1950s, but I don't know if you can still get up there.
Or if it's been developed in another way.
Of course, probably. There's
could be.
Storage center there now, probably.
All right, Jenny, good night. Thank you for being here.
Good night, Jenny.
There was, some of the stories that we've read, like locally, like right here in our area, and some of the ones we're currently investigating, like Abe Price and John Pate and all those, and the not so well-known stories of haunted places around here. But the Boojum is something we were talking about a while ago too, and it's in Haywood County, which is near Cherokee, and and it's supposed to be like, it's kind of like a Bigfoot. They say he's half man, half bear. Called him a Boojum, and there's different stories about it. And basically, it's a Bigfoot version of, they call the Boojum up there. And there's actually a brewery named after it, beers named after it, and there was some tales about how when he gives out a moaning sound, a very sad moaning sound. One thing that I read was he was crying for his mate. But I don't know a great deal about it, but it's I tried to look up a hotel that was near that where the story started. It was called the Eagle's Nest Hotel, and I can't find anything on that. So, hey, paranormal resident, how are you? But anyway, so that's another little tale that's around here. Bama's getting all kinds of words coming. They're doing a ghost tool tonight. There's some more. Well, here's one. Amy, since you all are talking about Wilmington next year for the family reunion, it's in New Hanover County Library in Wilmington, North Carolina. The haunted spot cited in Wilmington is New Hanover County Library, which is said to be haunted by a ghost woman believed to be a patron. Her apparition has been seen over the years, as well as people hearing footsteps, books moving, and another ghost, who people believe was a man that was killed in a duel. And his home stood on the current spot of the library. That's all I got out of that one, but a couple of spirits in that library, apparently, one being shot and killed, and not really sure what happened to the lady. Maybe she was a librarian at one time. I don't really know. But I don't know that they do investigations there or not, or allow that, but that would be really cool in a library to do an investigation. I guess I don't think about libraries for hauntings, and you think of Ghostbusters.
That's what I was going to say. Every time somebody says a library, if I go around that corner and that librarian's not there and she doesn't scream at you and make the cards go flying, then I would be disappointed. Because that affected me when I was little.
Oh Lord, that's the thing I thought of when I saw it said library. I thought, oh wow, what a crazy place that would be to investigate. I would like that, actually.
Well, you got to think libraries. A lot of them have, archives and special collections, things that were in possession. People were in possession of, old books or artifacts that they had that they might be attached to.
Yeah.
So I mean, yeah, it's understandable that a library could be haunted.
Yeah, for sure. Because I mean, it's like schools and stuff. Like Amy lives in an old school, and there's, in a school I can see where maybe students liked it, teachers liked it. You loved the place, especially teachers could have loved it so much. Like, I'm never leaving here, So those things I can see. And Amy gets the best, gets the best of both worlds because she gets good and bad sometimes there. But, um, I would love to investigate a school, a library, something like that. I think it said, I had to find this. I've only read like one thing where there's a library in Black Mountain that's haunted, but I never read anything about why it's haunted. They just said they start their investigations. They used to do a walking tour there. And
schools
the pipes are haunted right now, guys. Oh, Lord. But, I don't know a lot about it, why they do that. The one I read was something about it. There's like that library movement and stuff, things unexplained going on. But anyways, anybody got any questions, please type it in. We'll do our best to answer. There was, some other equipment and stuff we were talking about earlier, how effective they could be. But again, like I said earlier, when some equipment you just got to work with a little bit, get used to, and know what can set them off. A phone can set a K2 off sometimes. It depends on if I got anything running on the phone, if it might set it off. That can happen. But it's trial and error. You just learn. But yeah, I definitely want to see a compass. That's why I'm trying to use a flashlight more, because I think it may help older spirits understand that could be a lamp in there or a candle maybe.
Yeah.
So it's something to think about. Just but I'm trying to, like I said before, trying to think how they thought back in, let's say, the 1800s, 1900s, early 1900s, and what they could relate to.
Yeah.
They may not know what a K2 meter is. That could be like, what the heck is he talking about? But if it said candle one time, so I've been calling it a candle sometimes. So it helps. It really does. What other places have you found?
I found one near Cherokee, and it's called Thomas Divide Overlook.
Okay.
And it says the nighttime visitor has the overlook off the Blue Ridge Parkway, and it tells you where it's at, mile marker 464. They see strange glowing lights in the sky, sort of like Brown Mountain lights, I guess.
Oh, yeah.
But I'd only heard of the Brown Mountain lights. I hadn't heard of the other ones. But the legend is that the Cherokee shaman they wanted to stay into the mountains in his homeland, but it was during the Trail of Tears. So they were moving all of the Cherokee out, and he wanted to stay on his land, so they went deep into the mountains. I mean, if you've been near North Carolina, you can go deep into the mountains. They'll never find you. But the soldiers tracked them down, and they eventually executed the shaman as an example for people who wanted to try to stay, unfortunately. But they, to be at the risk of being morbid, they dismembered him and put him in different parts spread throughout the mountains. Well, they're saying that the lights is the spirit searching for all of his body parts. But they say the other legends could be, there's the legend of the Cherokee Little People.
Wow.
Which, if you look into Cherokee and Native American folklore and their beliefs, it's very, very interesting. But there's also fireballs hurled by Judaculla, which is like a mythical giant of the Cherokee folklore, which I have heard of before.
There's a rock down there called the Judaculla Rock.
Yeah.
That's very haunted, they say. And they said it could be alien, some kind of connection to aliens too, possibly.
Yeah. And it says if you go on the overlook, if you blink your lights or honk your horn, they should appear.
Well, there you go. Let's go blink lights and honk horns, or honk lights and beep horns or something.
Just maybe not at 2 o'clock. I don't know how close people live.
Yeah, just to be careful with that. But yeah, I would. I mean, see, I don't tempt things like with Helen's Bridge. I don't go up there and try to get her to not let my car start. I'm no better than that. But there are some places that people have seen apparitions on a road at certain times or certain times of the year.
Yeah.
things like that. But Bama got the word mystery. There's a lot of mystery to a lot of that stuff, really, to be
Mhm.
honest with you. It's kind of like there's a place in downtown called the Jackson Building. We've done a couple of films there, not investigations, but we've just talked about it. And during the Great Depression, when people were losing all their stocks were falling and people were losing money, they were jumping off this building and landing and just dying. I mean, they were just committing suicide. And to this day, firefighters, which is a fire department directly beside it, they will either be told by someone or they will actually hear it themselves. People falling from that building. They'll hear the thud, but they won't ever see anything. But the reoccurrence of that is still there. It's imprinted in that area. It's wild.
There is a lot of limestone up there.
Yeah. So there's a lot of imprints of things going on there. There's also, let's see, right down the road from there, next to the courthouse, is the deeds office now, and it used to be a funeral home. And I've let the ghost tool run when I've been in that area, and got some things like people's names, death. I've gotten what else was I got? I got flowers. I mean, just things that are somewhat related to a funeral home. So that's happened before too. But that's just another place in downtown that I would love to investigate, but I don't know that I ever will. I don't think the deeds office is going to say, "Yeah, go ahead."
Yeah, go ahead.
I don't think they will.
No.
She shouts, and relative. Well, see, she shouts is like shouting from jumping out of those buildings.
Mm-hmm. And there's gargoyles on that building.
Mm-hmm.
They say that they would jump off the gargoyles, and that's where people see them jump off at.
Yeah, it's wild. Let's see. Yeah, the effects still linger, Bama. You're right. Yeah, they still do. I mean, it's just.
And that's a lot of emotion tied into that.
Yeah, you got stress, anxiety, anger, whatever, all that stuff still
Sadness.
imprints. Yeah, sadness, everything still imprints. It's like they call it like a picture. Like a picture, like you take a picture and it stays that way.
Mm-hmm.
That's how that works. Tobacco. Oh, Lord, Bama. Devil's Tramping Ground. Talked about that before. Real quickly, it's the ground is a circle area trapped between Grass and the Chatham County. According to legend, anything placed within that spot is thrown out the next day so that the devil has room to dance. People have said that they have seen red glowing eyes in the circle. A journalist also spent the night in a tent inside the circle, and a few years back had heard ghostly footsteps going around his tent. So the one thing I've heard about that is that nothing can grow in there, and animals usually refuse to go anywhere near it. They just stay away. Mm-hmm. And no vegetation can grow in that spot. It's kind of like putting something down and it stays and stays. And, if you put like you have a swimming pool, one of these plastic ones or something, and you sit down, you sit there for a few months or something, eventually when you move it, it's going to start growing back. Mm-hmm. This, nothing grows. Nothing. And they say that, like I say, when you put something in that circle, it gets thrown back out. I don't think I want to stay in a circle. Would not stay all night in a circle. I think that's just tempting too much. But I would definitely go in and investigate. But sometimes you can get a little bit too much and get some bad things happen.
I wonder if they've tried to. Now you can do like a underground geological survey. Because I've heard theories like, nothing will grow where an unsettled spirit or a disgruntled person who has died, who is not settled, nothing will grow atop of where they're buried. I've heard that theory quite a bit. Mm-hmm. But I wonder if they've done any type of survey over that land to see if there's anything like a mass grave or some type of grave under that is just becomes so unsettled.
Well, and I wondered that too, or like you're saying, I wonder that. But I also wonder, is it, hey, Shay, how are you?
Shady Acres.
Shady Acres, yeah. Sorry, I lost my voice for a second. I wonder if it's some kind of, could be a vegetation issue where for some reason it won't grow because of something in the earth. Maybe not so much paranormal or devil or anything, although if it's something, if it could also be where they've done some seances in the past or something and conjured up something extremely evil, and it's like that's a circle and that's where it stays.
Yeah.
I wouldn't want to tempt it. Yeah, Shane, that's who it is. Sorry, Shane. Let's see. I'm curious if there's any ley lines on that area. Possibly. I don't really know. We do have ley lines that run through here, though, in this area. Could be. There's people doing more and more investigations into ley lines to see how effective they are to paranormal investigations. But I think there's still more research need to be done. But they're getting close on it. And see, like Tesla also, when he had those big Tesla coals in Colorado, he thought he was talking to possibly the future or even the past. He had that sense of almost, paranormal, time travel, parallel universe stuff going on.
Yeah.
So
that's like I was talking about with Thomas Edison before. I mean, he wanted to do research on paranormal, but a lot of the time, in his day and age, you didn't talk about it.
No.
It's like, Sir Isaac Newton, he wanted to do alchemy, but no, not at that time. You can't do it.
Imagine the breakthroughs they could have had back then that we could have used now.
Yeah, well, yeah.
But I mean, there's always things you can find. Like, there's a lot of Tesla information. He had a lot, they say, of paperwork, research that's gone. It's missing, and they don't know who got it. Some people say, did he really have that much? Some said it's gotten confiscated by the government. I don't know, but did he have some kind of research that could talk to parallels or the dead or whatever? I would love to know that. But anyway, the Tesla coils is something he used, and that would have been a major breakthrough for paranormal. I think.
I mean, those were some highly intelligent people. They could just, been in a time where it was more accepted. Maybe they could have done more work on it, anything like that.
Yeah, the ley lines could. Yeah, possibly. I mean, there could be a lot of things. There could be some vegetation situations. There could be
minerals.
I mean, it could be a lot of things. But the odd thing is, though, it's just in that one circle. And I would think it could be, even bigger than that. I mean, I could see if it's like, okay, there's like 50 acres that nothing's growing. I could see that a little bit better as being possibly some kind of vegetation problem.
Yeah.
But just being a circle and everything still around it grows and grows nicely.
Yeah, and minerals don't grow like that.
Yeah. And then, animals not going near it. Tells me there's a lot going on. Hey, Beyond the Veil, how are you?
Oh, cool.
Yeah, I've seen people use like the mini Tesla coils and stuff, but I've not seen a lot of research on it though. Thank you, Amy.
Thank you.
But yeah, I've seen those mini coils before, but
yeah,
I've got so much going on as far as like other stuff I'm using. I'm just not ready to quite do something else yet, but I've seen some research on it.
I'm too clumsy to use them.
Yeah.
I'll do something. I'd love to have some though. That'd be cool to
Yeah.
experiment with.
Hmm. But yeah, I like to try all kinds of things. I mean, I like that heat sensor camera that we got for our phones.
Yeah, I love it.
And they use them on like ghost hunters and stuff. They're the ones
that's where I got the idea from. Yeah.
So ghost hunters use them, and they've had some pretty decent success with them. Franco TV, I don't think he uses that exact one, but he does use one it's a heat sensor.
Mm-hmm. There's a few different brands.
No success beyond. Okay, yeah, Andrew. Yeah, that's. You know, I don't know. It's just trial and error. All right, Shane is back with a new name, by the way.
Catopia. That's good.
Yeah, that's her regular channel name, but yeah, I don't know about those coils yet. Maybe sometime down the road. There's a lot of things I've not done in a while too. Like we've kind of tried that Charlie before. It's been a long time, but I want to try to do something like it again, but not really say Charlie or any of that stuff. But just try to see if the spirits will move the pencils.
Yeah, it was very big a long time ago where they would have the writing books, where they would open up a book and say, "Can you write something on here?" And they would, they would be scribbles and scratches where they would be trying, or they said they would be trying to write in the book, but they couldn't get up enough energy to do it. They were very big back in the seance spiritualism days.
I would try that. Yeah. That's funny, Shane. What I would do though, if I was going to try that, I'd put like the night camera on it, or put a camera on it, and then that way, it's not one of those situations where people say, "Well, you went there and scribbled," and But if you had a camera on it, they kill that out of you, bud. If you had a camera sitting on something like that, and you see like writing appear all of a sudden, okay, you got the evidence at that point. You got the camera on it. You got nobody else around, and it's kind of like that fidget spinner that's in front of Robert there. If it ever moves and I catch it, it's going to be a big thing. You know what I mean? But yeah, I mean that could something. I mean, definitely I could put a piece of paper or something in here, maybe where Robert sits in his chair. Put a pencil there and have the camera on it, and see if it anything was to ever happen.
Or just something simple. Just put a piece of paper there and see if it moves.
Yeah, just see if it moves.
Yeah, because there's no airflow in here.
Mm.
It would be interesting to see because it's something light. They might not have to have enough, much energy to move it. It might work.
Like with Robert's, the toy balls that light up and all those things. I've not done. I mean, the flashlight's the only thing in a while. I'd like to see them get enough energy to knock that penguin back and forth and make the sound. Not only will I pick up movement, I also will pick up sound. And there you go. That'd be good.
Yeah, I wanted to try the floor mat piano, where I saw, I forgot which YouTube investigator I saw that used that, but they had a floor mat, little kids piano, and it was going off, but I cannot find one that doesn't have an automatic shut off after so long.
Yeah, you're going to have to. Yeah, you said yours maybe after a couple minutes or so.
It's
shuts off?
Yeah, like 2-3 minutes it shuts off. So I mean, it would be neat in an active investigation if you're there. You can maybe like touch it every once in a while and keep it on.
Yeah.
And show them how to do it. It would be good for active investigations, but not something. Yeah, not to keep it.
Keep something all night.
Yeah.
Oh, thank you, Amy. Yeah, we're getting close. I can't wait to get there.
Oh wow, cool.
1,000. Yeah, we're 118 away. We're getting there. I'll be excited when we get to 900. Then I'll be over excited when we hit 1,000. For sure. I can't wait. But yeah, that's something I was going to ask you about because you had seen that. And yeah, I mean, if you have like a piano thing that you can put on the floor or even on a table or something, and it lights up would be good too. Not only would you be able to hear it, but also lights up when it hits whatever.
Yeah.
That would be extremely good.
something like xylophone might work too, because they could just hit that.
Yeah.
I mean, something that's non-electrical, they might be more prone to use that, because if they're, if they died in, 1760,
Yeah.
they're not going to touch something that, lights up from green to red, that if they just touch it, they were there's a lot of superstitions back then. That's why sometimes when they get like evil or demon or something like that in the ghost tools, I'm wondering if they're saying it to us, like, you have things that talk.
Yeah.
That talk on their own.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, they may think it's evil or something. Mm-hmm. And so that's why I kind of mentioned, sometimes we have to go back in time a little bit and find things that are more related to them,
mm-hmm.
and for them to understand it. Like Thomas, he's he started to understand what the K2 was.
Yeah, he loves K2.
Ryan up there, the bear, he likes to, touch that REM pod sometimes and set it off. But that's not going to happen in every spirit's case.
Yeah.
And so, maybe, I've got that little toy truck down here. It's kind of heavy. But maybe I can find a Matchbox car, sit up there and see if they moved. If you got a little kid from the, let's say the 50s or something or whatever, that might know what a Matchbox or something like that similar is.
Yeah. Or you like the little toy trucks, you can get them cheap at the thrift store. Yeah. Something that they would have known, or marbles.
Yeah, something.
I tried to order some light up marbles, but every time I try to order them on Amazon, they get canceled. Because they run out of them.
That's odd. But the thing is, I think with all the technology, we've gotten so far advanced that we are, how can I put this? We're so far advanced with technology that we're losing the old spirits that don't understand what that is.
Leaving them behind. That's why I like the just the simple things. Like I've got the Mickey Mouse down in the basement.
Mm-hmm.
Mickey Mouse has been around for a long time.
Right.
And I did have Donald Duck, but his fur is so white it just washes out in the camera, so you can't see.
Yeah, that might be.
But marbles, or something that's non-electric that they would be familiar with, that maybe they would be more apt to touch and be more comfortable to touch, then they can become more comfortable with the electronic after they see, okay, this is okay. It might not hurt me.
Mm-hmm. Well, see, you think, well, what about a marble that lights up? But that could deter them. They might, oh, wait a minute, this thing lights up. But if you had a marble, like if I put marbles up there on that top or that middle edge where Michael's at, and we get that night camera on it, we can see the marbles move back and forth at night. That.
Well, see, what would be if you could get something that you wouldn't mind marking on the thing. My fidget spinner down in the basement, I've got it marked on the on the chair where it on either side of the little grooves and stuff. But so if it moves and I miss it, but it goes over that line, I know it's moved. So you could put some marbles up there and maybe do like a little chalk line on either side and see if it moves.
We did that with the Batman fidget spinner after it. When it moved in Newton, we came back and I kind of looked at it and I thought, well, that may have moved. So I put 2 sticks between it and it didn't move after that, but it did move. It moved that first time around.
Yeah.
And bells, that's another thing.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, bells. That's what that penguin's got. It's got like a bell in it that makes a noise like that.
One of my cat balls down in the basement is just bell. It's just a bell. It doesn't light up. It's just a bell.
Yeah, that stuff. Like, we're so far advanced in technology that we're so far ahead of the spirits that don't know what we're using. And then, like you said, it could be they may think it's evil. That's why I always have to say it's not going to hurt you. It's fine or whatever.
Yeah, it took Thomas a while to get used to the K2.
Yeah, so you got to. We got to start taking a step back, I think, but still use our advanced technology to pick up words and stuff, but go back a little bit in time and use old time stuff that they may understand better. Like, you could put, I don't know, you might investigate with a trigger object. Let's say you put a K2 next to a frying pan or something. You have somebody that loved to cook. If they touch that frying pan, it can knock that K2, make it go off. So just their energy from just them wanting to touch that frying pan could set that K2 off if it don't scare them. So
Yeah, there's a device that I'd love to have that it's basically a tray. It's a tray that you set, and then it basically works like a REM pod. So it's it's a tray, and then you put something down inside the tray that might be a trigger object. Like if it's something that from a war, you might put a rapier down there, or like a short sword or something, or a marble. Anything that you think that they might reach in to touch, and when they reach in to touch it, they don't necessarily have to touch it; it goes off.
Yeah.
And Ghost Hunters has they develop a lot of their own devices. I would love to have one of those, because all you have to do is just hook it up to the tray. You don't have to hook it up to the trigger object. And if they go anywhere near that trigger object, it's going to set it off.
And so I'll try to keep a REM pod out here all night, but I'm changing batteries every day. K2 be the same way. I change batteries. I hate having something that, like the flashlight, for instance, I check it every time I come out here, and it can last for months.
Oh yeah.
Before battery dies. Hey, paranormal professional. But so the flashlight's a good thing. I wish we had more like that. It wouldn't stay on, but would come on if they touch it or get near it.
Yeah. I wonder if a motion light would be good to have.
Yeah, a motion light,
like the ones you can put outside.
The little things that go ding dong or whatever. Janet's my sister. She's with me tonight. Anyway, yeah, something that can make a noise. I thought about using one of those doorbell type things, the ringers, and set it, somewhere over with the dolls, wherever, don't matter. And if a spirit goes by it and enough energy goes by it, it should set it off. Yeah, I would think.
Well, if we can figure out if the compass will work, you could set a compass up and see if that needle will move. Because your camera will pick it up. If you set it, next to maybe Michael or something, set it in there and just set it up to where you can see it. Right. If we can figure out if that would work, because compasses, you're supposed to hold level, but yeah, if we could figure out some way to where you could kind of see, or maybe put it down on the chair where you could see it move, even though it's sitting down level. If we can figure out if that compass works, that might not be a bad idea.
Yeah, I think we wanted to start, and that's for everybody who does paranormal investigation. I think sometimes we're going to start going back in time, and maybe we'll get better evidence than we are with the K2s and REM pods and stuff, simply because they'd be more comfortable in knowing what's, that they would know marbles. They would know,
earn their trust.
Yeah, and especially, and I would say this too, especially if you know what era that those people died in. So if it was in the early 1900s, 1980s, 1800s, 1980s is a little more modern stuff. So you probably get a few more modern things if somebody died in the 80s. But if somebody died in 1880, you'd have to go back a little ways and figure out, what would they understand?
Yeah, that's why I live for the research. If there's something like a place where we're going, and it's like the Newton Cemetery, it was a military academy. So it'd be a good idea to figure out maybe some important names that were part of the academy, or some of the jargon that they would use. Like if you're going to investigate a military complex or something, you wouldn't say, "Hey, who are you?" You would say, "Identify yourself. What unit are you with?" Yeah, things like that. Something, and doing research is probably half the battle, because if you can speak and get their interest and speak with something that they know of, they would be more apt to trust you or to listen to you.
And that's why I always look when I'm at Newton or wherever I'm at, especially in the military area, because the words that come up to the ghost tool, sometimes I go back and look. There's times I've shut the camera off so I can do some research. And there's a lot of times like it could be related, but maybe not. So I just kind of let it go. But if I ever get words that are related to maybe the 1800s in that era of the Civil War or Revolutionary War, I think there's some Revolutionary soldiers in there too, and find words that they might have used back then, and maybe I can communicate a little bit better with them. That's okay, Jan.
Oh, that's fine, Jen. I don't think I've only been on here like once or twice.
Yeah, the old-fashioned ones.
Mhm.
Yeah, Bam, that's exactly right.
Like the ones you get with the military kit, like
Yeah,
old school.
yeah, I would say go very old school, and like Bama says, nothing that flashes, make noises or anything. Just something very old-fashioned that they might understand, or um, and something else I want to try to start doing. And I hate okay. I've seen people do this, and I'm just not really one that does it. But people will go into certain cemeteries, like a military one, and say, "We got a man down, we got a man down," or something like that,
Yeah.
and try to get some kind of response. I don't really like doing that, but I could probably say, I'm hungry. Where do we get? Where's the mess hall, or just something that might
Mm-hmm.
be a little more sensitive, but not, cruel. Like I've seen investigators go into hospitals and lay somebody on a bed and say they're having a heart attack or something. And where's the doctor? Where's the doctor?
Yeah.
I just can't get into that. Now I might, if I'm in a hospital, I might say something like, I don't know.
Scalpel stat,
Yeah,
like
yeah.
that.
We have a sick patient in the lobby. Can I get a nurse or something? But
Mhm.
I'm just not really into all that heavy duty stuff like that. Maybe one day, but I'm just not.
I can't do it either. I mean, you can go in, especially if you go into like Newton, you can go, what regiment are you in?
Mhm.
Because they, unit's more of a more modern term. They would use regiment.
Yeah.
Who's your commanding officer? I need to speak to your commanding officer.
Mm-hmm.
That's why I like to find a grave at, because you can, if you find a grave marker that, maybe getting some activity, you can look up that grave marker and be like, oh, tell me about your mom, so-and-so. Tell me about your dad, so-and-so.
Yeah.
And that would, a lot of people like talking about their family, or they can say, oh, what was your favorite toy growing up? Stuff like
Mhm.
that. You don't have to provoke them by,
Oh no, you
man down.
Yeah, that I don't like that. Yeah, that's a good idea, Andrew. I mean, yeah, ask about a report or a brief or something.
Mhm.
There's things you can ask that's very polite, but to a point.
Mhm.
Because I do ask, when I do get a name, and let's say I do find a name, let's say his name's Roger, and I find a Roger in a military, cemetery. If it don't have like sergeant or whatever, I'll try to ask.
Yeah, what's your rank, or
there's a lot of there's things you can say that can trigger spirits too.
Say rapid 500 hours.
Yeah. Well,
I don't want to do 500 hours.
But there's things you can say, military jargon and stuff that might trigger them to contact with you or do better contact with you, because they may feel more comfortable. They may not feel really comfortable talking, or not talking, but touching things, but they may start speaking, and that ghost tool or ghost tube picks things up, spirit talker, all those.
Yeah.
And you might start getting a decent conversation with them. You may not ever get anything to light up, but you might get, something like that happening. That's pretty wild.
As and if you're in a cemetery that's got mostly maybe Revolutionary War or Civil War, World War I, World War II, learn try to figure out the different jargon for each, era that you're in. I mean, you're not gonna, go up to a cemetery that's got mostly Civil War and ask them what plane they were, stuff like that.
Yeah. Good night, Shana. Thank you for being here.
Good night.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of things we can do. That's what you would say to a living person. Yeah. Yeah, I try to do that, and I try to be on their in their decade if I can, because there may be things that I say, they'd be like, what?
Yeah.
What are you saying? But the basic stuff like who's with me, what is your name, those type of things. But anyway, but I think I think that's pretty much it. We're about the end of our podcast night. So if anybody's got any questions, please comment. We'll see if we can answer them before we go.
Have you been to East McDowell Junior High School?
Nope. Pretty haunted?
Well, they said it was in early 1900s. It was an orphanage that caught on fire, and several of the children died in the fire, as well as the orphanage supervisor. And if you go to the parking lot, in the back parking lot, you can hear children crying, and you can see the supervisor up on the upstairs balcony in the library. Library.
Library,
like we were
school,
talking about earlier.
That's all. That's everything you need right there. Oh my Lord! But gosh, yeah, never been there.
Well, this was fun.
Yeah, I enjoyed it. Like I say, if anybody's got any questions, let us know. If not, we're going to shut it down here in a moment. We're going to do a hospital overnight, but there are none around me. Well, where are you at exactly, Andrew? I mean, you don't have to tell me. I mean, just tell me what state you're in. I know there's one I like to do in Tennessee that's in the old Pittsburgh hospital. It would be really nice.
There's an old one in Madison County.
Yeah.
It was I think it was a nurse's house and then a half hospital, nurse's something like that.
Jacksonville, Florida.
Jacksonville. Oh, so close to St. Augustine. So close.
Yeah, Bama, there's, I don't know about an app, but I think you can go online and it shows the ley lines that runs through. That would be something I can try to look at later on. Possibly, to figure it out. There's been a couple of times I looked at the ley lines and they really confused me, so it's hard to say.
It's hard to do hospitals too, because a lot of them, the property is privately owned and or being sold or something along those lines. It's very rare to find one that will allow you in to investigate. A lot of them are just they just go in, but a lot of abandoned place YouTubers just go in. Yeah,
you just sometimes go in and ask for mercy later if you get caught, but
better beg for forgiveness and ask for forgiveness.
There's one in Banner Elk that Tennessee Wraith Chasers have been to a couple of times, and I don't know that status of that place anymore. That's been about 10 years ago, I guess, but there is some. Oh, thank you, Bama. There are some places you can get, like old Pittsburgh. That's a there's like the lunatic asylums, like Trans-Allegheny. Some of those are very, very expensive. Now, this old Pittsburgh South doesn't seem to be, from my knowledge of reading it in the past, does not seem to be too expensive. And the more the merrier, so to speak. The more you can get, the less you'll have to pay.
Now, I would recommend looking at old maps because there's a lot that were old hospitals, but they're not hospitals anymore.
True, yes.
Like we have several in our city where it used to be a hospital, but now it's an apartment complex or it's a like a business park or something. So you might be able to get the same type of activity you would have had in a hospital, but it's no longer there. Yeah. Because if it's residual, it's residual. It's going to stay there.
It's going to stay there.
So I would look at the old maps.
Well, when things get torn down too, it opens up even more paranormal. But and I will say this: like if I'm ever, doing an investigation in a parking lot, and I'm telling you, it used to be a hospital, I'm definitely going to show you a picture of what it used to look like. But then maybe we'll get something. So a lot of times in a parking lot. Yeah. You're not going to get run off.
No, most of the time you're not. Sanborn maps are your friend.
Yeah.
And there's over 35,000 of these maps, and they're the fire insurance maps, and they are very specific on what was there, what was where. Here's the morgue. Here's where the beds were set up and stuff like that. So, and they're on the Library of Congress for you to look at.
Yeah, if you want to later on, if you want to put that on our Facebook page.
Yeah.
And then if y'all follow us on Facebook,
I can put it up on. I can tweet it.
Yeah, put it on
and then
Twitter.
You can retweet it.
Yeah, we'll do that. Y'all can go check those out. Yeah, asylums would be fun to do. Then I want to do, prisons too. That'd be cool. That'd be real nice.
I'd like to do the Madison County or the Marshall jail.
Marshall jail.
Because you can stay in there now.
Yep. There is a old jail in Marshall, North Carolina, that's now a hotel, and we haven't done much research into if you can stay there and investigate, but we're going to try to do that soon and see if you can.
Mm-hmm.
And if you can, maybe one of the things I may say, yeah, go ahead, but just be quiet about it.
Yeah.
Which I'm like, no problem. I got a ghost tool that doesn't speak out loud. I got a camera and a soft voice when I need it. But places like that would be cool to.
Yeah.
Some places don't like that, but some places welcome it.
Oh yeah, well, I mean, especially if they're just not getting started up.
Yeah.
If they want to generate revenue, then that would be a good idea. But some people they don't like that much traffic.
Yeah.
But there's a lot of places that Marshall is one of those places where they kind of embrace their history, and they as long as they're not the superstitious type, they might be pretty apt to do that, because I've been looking at the maps in Marshall, and there's there was a school that burned down. The jail was twice replaced. This was the third one. I mean, and then they like the Abe Price thing.
Yeah.
That you've been investigating. I mean, there's a lot of stuff in Marshall that you can do.
Oh yeah, yeah. I got that video. Got to do pretty soon. Put it up, but for the Abe Price. Well, guys, I guess we're going to shut it down. Sunday night, we'll be doing our investigation again, like always. Always thankful for the help y'all give. And then next Wednesday, I may try to get my oldest daughter, and it may be one of those things. It won't be a night live stream. It'll have to be a day live stream for our podcast, so maybe next Wednesday. And then She won't be here. She won't be. Oh, that's right. She's out of town.
She gets to go to the beach.
Be at the week after that. That's right. So maybe the 11th. But on the 15th, I got Past Life. On Sunday night, the 15th, to be a podcast night, not an investigation night. On the 15th, so mark a calendar for that one for Past Life Explorers. And so next week's podcast, we'll figure out what we want to do. Talk about or whatever. Then maybe the 11th, I can get my daughter up here, and if she's back, and doing a podcast with her. So, but anyway, I hope you all enjoyed it. I want to say thanks to my sister for joining us tonight.
Thank you for having me.
And we're definitely we'll get Marnie up here. We'll get everybody we can up here over time. So we'll be inviting people from time to time to come up if they want to come up. But anyway, I hope everyone has a good night and a good week, and we'll see you Sunday. Good night.
Good night.